What an absolutely incredible night for All Elite Wrestling. The date was Saturday, October 18th, 2025, and the place was the completely sold-out Chaifetz Arena in St. Louis, Missouri. This wasn't just any pay-per-view, this was WrestleDream, our third annual event dedicated to honoring the legacy of the legendary founder of New Japan Pro Wrestling, Antonio Inoki. You could feel the history and the respect in the air from the moment the doors opened. The energy was simply electric. Fans from all over the world packed the arena, ready for a night of dream matches, championship clashes, and the kind of moments that make you fall in love with professional wrestling all over again. WrestleDream has quickly become one of the most special nights on the AEW calendar. It's a show where we bridge the gap between AEW and NJPW, creating matchups you might only see once in a lifetime. It's a tribute to a man whose fighting spirit and vision changed the game forever. This year, the card was stacked from top to bottom, promising a little bit of everything for every kind of fan. We had brutal grudge matches, high-stakes championship defenses, and the potential for shocking surprises that nobody could see coming. The St. Louis crowd was ready to be a part of history, and trust me, they were not disappointed. The entire atmosphere felt different. It was more than just a regular show, it was a celebration. The legacy of Antonio Inoki encourages wrestlers to push their limits, to fight with honor, and to leave everything they have in the ring. And that's exactly what our AEW stars did. From the opening bell of the pre-show to the final shocking moments of the main event, every single person on the roster gave it their all. The night promised dream matches and delivered epic stories, setting the stage for the future of AEW in a way that left everyone talking. This was one of those shows you'll tell people you were there for. Looking back, WrestleDream 2025 will be remembered for so many things. It will be remembered for the unbelievable athletic displays, the hard-hitting action, and the championships that were fought for with every ounce of strength. But more than anything, it will be remembered for the surprises. The moments that made thousands of people in the Chaifetz Arena jump to their feet, their screams echoing through the building. It was a night of returns, betrayals, and new beginnings. It was a perfect tribute to Antonio Inoki's spirit, and it was a definitive statement about the passion and excitement that defines All Elite Wrestling today. Before the main card even started, the TNT Tailgate pre-show gave us a taste of the incredible action to come. It was a fast-paced, action-packed hour that got the St. Louis crowd fired up and ready for the main event. We kicked things off with a massive 8-man tag team match that was pure chaos in the best way possible. The Death Riders, featuring Claudio Castagnoli, Pac, Wheeler Yuta, and Daniel Garcia, took on a unique team of Kyle O'Reilly, Orange Cassidy, Tomohiro Ishii, and Roderick Strong. The action was non-stop, and in the end, the teamwork of the Blackpool Combat Club contingent proved to be too much for their opponents. We also saw some fantastic tag team wrestling that really showcased the depth of our division. FTR, the duo of Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, faced off against the high-flying team of Jet Speed, which consists of Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight. It was a classic clash of styles, with FTR's gritty, old-school approach going up against the innovative and athletic offense of Jet Speed. Dax and Cash managed to ground their opponents and secure the victory, reminding everyone why they are considered one of the best tag teams in the world. It was a hard-fought battle that earned the respect of everyone watching. The women's division was also represented on the pre-show, with Harley Cameron teaming up with the ever-popular Willow Nightingale to take on the formidable duo of Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. This match was a fun, energetic contest that saw all four women get a chance to shine. Willow's infectious energy and powerhouse moves were on full display, and she and Harley proved to be a surprisingly effective team. They managed to get the win, sending the crowd into a frenzy and building even more momentum heading into the main show. It was a great showcase for the talent in our women's division. Finally, we had a short but impactful tag match that was over in a flash. The team of Hook and Eddie Kingston absolutely demolished the Frat House, represented by Cole Carter and Griff Garrison. This match lasted about 2 minutes, and it was pure dominance from start to finish. Hook and Eddie were all business, hitting their opponents hard and fast, and getting the pinfall victory almost immediately. It was a definitive statement from two of AEW's toughest competitors, proving that they are always ready for a fight, no matter who is standing across the ring from them. The pre-show was the perfect appetizer for the main course. The main card kicked off with some intense championship action, and the TNT Championship was the first title up for grabs. Our champion, Kyle Fletcher of the Don Callis family, defended his belt against the legendary Mark Briscoe. This was an emotional and hard-hitting match. Mark Briscoe brought the fight with his signature redneck kung fu, and the crowd was passionately behind him, wanting to see him finally capture a major singles title in AEW. However, Kyle Fletcher is a cunning and ruthless champion. After a brutal back-and-forth battle, Fletcher managed to hit a devastating brainbuster on the top turnbuckle, which was enough to pin Mark and retain his TNT Championship. Later in the evening, we saw the incredible Jamie Hayter make her presence felt in a huge way. She went one-on-one with the tough and talented Thekla, and this was a physical, hard-hitting affair. Jamie Hayter has been on a roll, and she looked absolutely unstoppable in this match. Thekla gave it her all, but Hayter's power and aggression were just too much to overcome. The end came when Hayter connected with her signature lariat, the Hayter's 8, for a decisive pinfall victory. The crowd went wild for Hayter, who continues to prove that she is a major force to be reckoned with in the AEW women's division. One of the most exciting matches of the night was for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. The champions Brodito, the unlikely but effective pairing of the massive Brody King and the high-flying Bandito, defended their titles against two of NJPW's biggest stars, Kazuchika Okada and Konosuke Takeshita. This match was a spectacle, filled with incredible moments and near falls that had the audience on the edge of their seats. There was visible tension between Okada and Takeshita throughout the match, and their lack of chemistry ultimately cost them. In a stunning moment, Bandito managed to hit his incredible 21-plex on Okada for the pin, securing the victory and retaining the titles for Brodito. The fallout from this match was just as interesting as the match itself. After the bell, the frustration between Okada and Takeshita boiled over. It was clear that their partnership was not working, and the loss seemed to create an even bigger rift between them. Meanwhile, Brody King and Bandito celebrated their massive victory, proving that their unique combination of power and agility makes them a dominant force in the tag team division. This win solidified their reign as champions and raised questions about what's next for both Okada and Takeshita in their AEW journey. It was a huge moment that had major implications for the tag team scene. The women's division was front and center at WrestleDream, with two massive championship matches that had the entire arena buzzing. First, the AEW Women's World Champion, Kris Statlander, defended her title against the one and only timeless Toni Storm. This was a battle of two of the best in the world, and they did not disappoint. Toni Storm, with her classic Hollywood persona, tried to play mind games with the champion, but Kris Statlander was all business. She used her incredible strength and athleticism to counter everything Toni threw at her. The match was a brilliant showcase of technical wrestling and raw power. The final moments of the match were absolutely breathtaking. After a series of close calls and near falls that had the fans believing either woman could win, Kris Statlander saw her opening. She climbed to the top rope and executed her picture-perfect Area 450 splash, crashing down onto Toni Storm for the 3 count. It was a huge victory for Statlander, who continues to build her legacy as one of the most dominant AEW Women's World Champions we have ever seen. She celebrated with her title held high, proving once again that she is more than a woman. She is a formidable champion at the top of her game. But the night was far from over for the women's division. The TBS champion, the CEO Mercedes Moné, issued an open challenge, and it was answered by Stardom's incredible Mina Shirakawa. This match was for both the TBS Championship and the interim ROH Women's TV title. Mina put up a valiant effort, pushing Mercedes to her absolute limit. However, Mercedes proved why she is the CEO. In a controversial finish, Mercedes used the ropes for leverage during a pin, securing the victory and walking away with both championships. It was a sneaky move, but it was an effective one. The real drama happened after the match. As Mercedes Moné was celebrating her victory with both titles in hand, she was suddenly attacked by the AEW Women's World Champion, Chris Statlander. Chris stormed the ring and laid out Mercedes, making a huge statement. She held her championship high over the fallen CEO, making it crystal clear what she wanted. It was later confirmed that these two champions will face each other at our next pay-per-view, Full Gear. The collision course has been set, and the battle to determine the undisputed top woman in AEW is officially on. The anticipation is already off the charts. One of the most talked about matches of the night was the $500,000 tag team match between Jurassic Express, the team of Jack Perry and Luchasaurus, and the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson. There was so much on the line here, not just the money, but also pride and momentum. This was a classic AEW tag team spectacle, full of fast-paced action, incredible double-team maneuvers, and so many near falls that honestly, you couldn't tear your eyes away. Both teams pulled out all the stops, and wow, the chemistry between Jack Perry and Luchasaurus has never looked better. They worked together seamlessly to counter the signature offense of the Bucks. The match was an absolute roller coaster, and it was Jurassic Express who ultimately walked away with the $500,000 prize. They managed to isolate one of the Jackson brothers and hit their devastating finisher to secure the pinfall victory. It was a massive win for Jack Perry and Luchasaurus, a huge moment in their careers. However, their celebration was cut short. The Don Callis family, led by Josh Alexander, Lance Archer, and Mark Davis, stormed the ring and began a vicious assault on the victorious duo. It was a brutal, unprovoked attack that left Perry and Luchasaurus completely defenseless and outnumbered. What happened next was truly stunning. As the Don Callis family continued their beatdown, the Young Bucks simply stood on the entrance ramp and watched. They made no move to help the team they had just shared the ring with, showing a cold and calculating side that, honestly, shocked a lot of people. It seemed like they were content to let their rivals be destroyed. But then, the arena just exploded. The theme music of Kenny Omega hit, and the Cleaner himself appeared for the first time in months. The crowd erupted as Omega charged to the ring, evening the odds and sending the Don Callis family running. Kenny Omega stood tall in the ring, saving Jack Perry and Luchasaurus from the assault. It was honestly an unbelievable moment. The Young Bucks looked on from the ramp, their expressions totally unreadable as their former friend and partner seemingly formed a new alliance. What does this mean for the Elite? Is Kenny Omega now aligned with Jurassic Express? The questions are endless. This one moment completely changed the landscape of AEW. Omega's return was a genuine shock, and his actions have created a fascinating new storyline that will have everyone tuning in to see what happens next. The Golden Elite might be back, but in a form nobody ever expected. The AEW World Championship match was a true clash of titans. The champion, Hangman Adam Page, put his title on the line against the formidable Samoa Joe, who had his trio's partners, Powerhouse Hobbs and Katsuyori Shibata, at ringside. This was a classic story of the resilient champion facing a dominant and powerful challenger. From the opening bell, Samoa Joe used his size and strength to overwhelm Hangman, hitting him with brutal strikes and powerful submission holds. Joe was relentless, trying to wear down the champion and take him out of his element. The St. Louis crowd was firmly behind Hangman, cheering him on with every comeback. Hangman Page showed the heart of a champion. He absorbed an incredible amount of punishment from Joe, but refused to stay down. He fought back with everything he had, using his speed and agility to create openings. He hit Joe with a series of high-impact moves, including a spectacular moonsault to the outside that took out not only Joe, but also Hobbs and Shibata. The match was perfectly paced, building to a crescendo as both men were pushed to their absolute limits. It felt like either man could walk away with the championship at any moment, and the tension in the arena was palpable. The climax of the match came when Hangman Page, running on pure adrenaline, saw his opportunity. He dodged a charging Samoa Joe, sending him stumbling. Hangman quickly springboarded off the top rope and connected with a thunderous buckshot lariat right on the button. The impact sent Joe crashing to the mat, and Hangman covered him for the 1, 2, 3. The arena erupted as Hangman Adam Page retained his AEW World Championship in an incredibly hard-fought battle. It was a defining moment in his title reign, proving that he could overcome one of the toughest challengers in AEW history. However, Hangman's celebration was brutally cut short. While he was catching his breath, Samoa Joe suddenly snapped. In a shocking turn of events, Joe attacked Hangman from behind, officially turning heel. His partners, Hobbs and Shibata, joined in on the assault, beating down the exhausted champion. The attack culminated in Joe delivering a sickening powerbomb to Hangman directly onto the AEW World Championship belt. The message was clear. This was far from over. Samoa Joe may have lost the match, but he left the champion in a heap, making it personal and setting up a violent and intense rivalry for the world title. The main event of WrestleDream 2025 was not for the faint of heart. It was a deeply personal and violent I Quit match between two men who were willing to go to any lengths to win. Darby Allin and Jon Moxley. There were no pinfalls, no countouts, and no disqualifications. The only way to win was to make your opponent utter the words, "I quit." From the moment the bell rang, this was an absolute war. Moxley, a master of this environment, immediately took the fight to Darby, using his brawling style to punish him all over the arena. It was uncomfortable to watch, but you couldn't look away. The action quickly spilled outside the ring and into the crowd. Moxley and Darby used anything they could get their hands on as a weapon. Chairs, guardrails, and even pieces of the stage were used to inflict pain. The crowd was in shock with chants of "This is murder" echoing through the Chaifetz Arena. Darby Allin, as he always does, absorbed an ungodly amount of punishment. Moxley was relentless, targeting Darby's body and trying to break his spirit. But Darby's spirit is not easily broken. He fought back with his signature high-risk, chaotic offense, throwing his own body at Moxley with reckless abandon. The match reached a terrifying turning point when Moxley introduced a large glass aquarium at ringside. His plan was horrifyingly clear. He was trying to drown Darby Allin and force him to quit. He dragged Darby's limp body and submerged his head under the water. The referee held the microphone to Darby's face, but Darby refused to give up. It was a genuinely scary moment, and it looked like there was no way out for Darby. The arena was silent with anticipation and fear. It seemed like we were about to witness the end of Darby Allin right before our very eyes. Just when all hope seemed lost, the lights in the arena suddenly went out. The crowd held its breath, and when the lights came back on, the entire dynamic of the match changed forever. The chaos that ensued was something no one could have predicted. Jon Moxley's brutal plan had been interrupted by a force from the shadows, a specter from the past that was about to make its presence felt in the most impactful way imaginable. The I Quit match had reached its final, unbelievable chapter, and the world was about to be reminded that in AEW anything can happen. When the lights came back on in the Chaifetz Arena, the entire world stood still. Standing there, bat in hand, was the icon himself, Sting. The crowd reaction was one of the loudest I have ever heard in my entire life. It was a mix of pure shock, disbelief, and absolute joy. Sting, who had retired from in-ring competition in 2023, was back. He didn't hesitate for a second. He walked directly to the aquarium where Moxley was still trying to drown Darby and smashed it to pieces with his signature black baseball bat. Water and glass exploded everywhere as Darby was freed. The message was sent loud and clear. Jon Moxley was in stunned disbelief. but his shock quickly turned to rage. He went after Sting, but the Icon was ready for him. Sting fought back, looking like he hadn't missed a beat. The crowd was going absolutely insane. Sting handed his bat to a re-energized Darby Allin, who used it to unleash a furious assault on Moxley. Darby was a man possessed, channeling the energy of his mentor and the entire arena. He beat Moxley down, repaying him for all the punishment he had endured throughout the match. The tide had completely and irrevocably turned. With Moxley weakened, Darby Allin saw his chance to end it once and for all. In a fitting tribute to the man who had just saved him, Darby locked Jon Moxley into the Scorpion Deathlock. He cinched it in tight, right in the middle of the ring, wrenching back on Moxley's legs and back. The referee shoved the microphone into Moxley's face again and again. Moxley, trapped and with nowhere to go, finally screamed the two words that ended the match: "I quit!" Darby Allin had won. He had survived the war and forced the unbreakable Jon Moxley to surrender. The image of Sting and Darby Allin standing tall together in the ring as WrestleDream went off the air is one that will be burned into the memory of every wrestling fan. Sting's return was the biggest surprise of the year, maybe of the decade. Why did he return? What does this mean for his retirement? Is he back for good? We have so many questions, but one thing is for sure: his presence completely changes everything for Darby Allin and for AEW. It was a shocking, emotional, and unforgettable conclusion to an incredible night of professional wrestling. The Icon is back. WrestleDream 2025 was more than just a great show. It was a major turning point that has set AEW on a thrilling new path toward our next pay-per-view, Full Gear. The biggest story, without a doubt, is the collision of champions. After Chris Statlander's attack on Mercedes Moné, the match is set: AEW Women's World Champion versus the TBS and interim ROH Women's TV Champion. This is a dream match of epic proportions, a battle to determine who is truly the best in the world. The tension between these two is already off the charts, and their road to Full Gear will be one of the most intense stories to watch. We also have a new, deeply personal rivalry for the AEW World Championship. Hangman Adam Page may have retained his title, but the post-match assault by Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Katsuyori Shibata has changed everything. Joe's heel turn was vicious and calculated. He made it clear that he is not finished with Hangman, and will stop at nothing to take that championship. Hangman will need to find allies and watch his back, because this new, ruthless version of Samoa Joe and his crew is one of the most dangerous threats his title reign has ever faced. A violent rematch seems inevitable for Full Gear. The tag team division and the main event scene have been completely shaken up by the return of Kenny Omega. His save of Jurassic Express from the Don Callis family, while the Young Bucks watched and did nothing, creates so many questions. Is the Elite finished? Has Kenny Omega formed a new alliance with Jack Perry and Luchasaurus? What will the Bucks' response be? This storyline has the potential to redefine the factions that have dominated AEW for years. It's a complex and emotional story involving former best friends and new, unlikely partners, and it's all heading towards a major confrontation. And finally, what is the deal with Sting? His shocking return to help Darby Allin defeat Jon Moxley has left the entire wrestling world buzzing. Is he officially out of retirement? Will he be stepping back into the ring for one more match? His presence adds a whole new layer to Darby's ongoing war with the Blackpool Combat Club. The road to Full Gear is paved with new rivalries, shocking alliances, and massive championship implications. After the incredible events of WrestleDream, one thing is certain: the next few months in All Elite Wrestling are going to be absolutely must-see television.